Hi, I'm Naomi Hall, and I want to welcome you to Mindset Makeover, our virtual summit for you to find your power through fitness, nutrition, and community. Because we all kind of know what to do at this point to live a healthy life, but we struggle to do those things. And sometimes we feel like we're doing all the right things and we're still struggling and not seeing any progress. And a big piece of that is our mindset and our community. And so today I have with me Krista Powell. And Krista is a life coach and certified practitioner of neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, and quantum time technique. She helps clients change their mindset to change their lives. Krista works with clients who are ready to uplevel their life, but are uncertain where to start or why they keep getting in their own way. Her specialty is helping women become the songwriters of their own intimate lives. So, Krista, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
I'm excited to have you because you kind of touch on an area that we haven't touched on in this summit. You're an intimacy expert, right?
Yes, that is where I have been drawn, and it's interesting sometimes how life unfolds. I I was reading your story too about how you have felt like your journey has been up and down throughout your life. And I think that has been my relationship with my body too. From a very young age, there have been periods where I felt strong and empowered, and periods where I wanted to hide parts of myself.
Mhm.
And it's interesting, as I was going through my training for becoming a life coach and learning about the unconscious mind and learning about limiting beliefs and learning about how we can address that voice in our head that comes up and tells us stories about ourselves. And I realized that that path that I was learning how to guide clients down was one that I had taken in my own personal life, and one that I had taken to increase intimacy with my husband.
Mhm.
And what I had discovered was that starting at a very young age, whenever a part of me popped up that I felt received negative attention or I just didn't like, I built a little invisible wall around that part of me.
Mm.
So suddenly I find myself in adulthood and unsure why I can't bridge the intimacy gap with another person. I felt like I had more of myself to share, but I didn't know how to get to those parts of me that I had hidden away.
Mhm.
And that was really the start of me diving into realizing and readdressing and revisiting some of the events from childhood, putting a voice to them, realizing I didn't have to keep holding on to those stories, and really rewriting what I wanted my life to be like.
Mhm. Now, as you talk about kind of walling off these parts of you that were receiving negative attention, this isn't just physical parts of you, is it? This goes deeper than just the physical, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. It can be a physical part of you you can try to hide, but also, um, if you were reprimanded by a teacher for talking too much or taking too much control, or somebody said something to you on the playground, those stories get put in our brain,
Mhm.
and it can, for whatever reason our brains choose, it can really become a much larger issue than whoever was talking to you meant it to be.
Wow. So yeah, this encompasses so much more. This is just kind of looking at the core of who we are physically, emotionally, spiritually, our character, and the stories that people have told us. So how does this so we're talking a lot about like health and living a healthy life. How do our stories that are in our heads, I mean, I could hear those voices. Um,
Hmm.
and I can tell you who said the things. I mean, there were things my grandmother said to me as a child that always come back. How do we rewrite those stories? Because some of those are deeply entrenched because they weren't just said once, they were said over and over again to some of us.
Right, and that's the magic and the difficulty with our unconscious mind is that once we have that one kernel planted in our head, then our unconscious mind works really hard to keep proving that kernel of whatever was said to us to be true. And so we start to pick up on
Mm.
the messages from parents, from grandparents, from friends, from media, whatever it is that we heard, our mind works really hard to make it true. So often the first step is just to acknowledge that you're no longer a little child. You don't need the protection that your brain put in place to keep you safe and small. And we can start to really revisit whatever it was that was said to us. So maybe food is a big one. So we had a parent say, you don't need any more food, you've had enough. And
Mhm.
so then our unconscious mind interprets that statement to mean my hunger is not valid. I
Mhm.
shouldn't have this feeling. I need to ignore that feeling when it comes up. And so I'm going to just stop listening to that cue in my body.
Mhm.
So when we're an adult, we can come in again and start to layer by layer erase some of that programming in our head and reprogram it with something new. So we might have a conversation, we may journal, we may do some therapy to reintroduce ourselves to our body, say, I'm now an adult. I
Mhm.
know how to feed myself. I know what my body needs. We can let go of this past belief, this past story we've been telling ourselves.
Wow. So this is not like a quick fix. This is something that is going to take time, and we have to like step into this journey. It's almost like a journey, right?
It is a journey. I think the amount of time it takes depends, what are we talking about here? Um, if it's been food that you've been for a long time, maybe that's a long thing. If it is, um, there can be all sorts of different timelines on how this can go, but usually you can feel some relief after even a single journal exercise of spending 10 or 20 minutes just writing down everything you remember about that time, really feeling in your body. Often we can, when we think back of that one conversation that really sticks out in our mind, we can imagine it, we can feel it maybe in our body somewhere, and we can spend some time just listening to that part of the body and let us just start to heal.
Mhm. So I know for women, our bodies, we there's so many messages coming at us and so many images that we're seeing of what we're supposed to look like, not even just what we're supposed to look like, but how we're supposed to act, and the things that we're supposed to be able to do and kind of be super woman all the time. um how does our image of our body and how we view our body, how can that hold us back in our health journey? You hit on a little bit, but I kind of wanted to circle back to that. How does how I view myself affect my ability to live a healthy life?
Sure. So if you are exercising and you're eating how you think you should be, but the internal dialogue is, I'm never going to see a change. I'm always going to be whatever story you've telling yourself. Um, then your body is working against itself to keep you from reaching your goal. So when you can align your body and your mind, and you can say, okay, I know I can accomplish hard things. I know that I am disciplined. I know that I feel good when I eat a certain way, and that I believe that these changes are going to be effective. Then we can start to align our mind and our body together to work toward a goal.
Okay. So it's almost like we're working against ourselves when we have these negative messages, these negative stories, but we're trying to work out, eat right, and our bodies, our brain is like, that's not who you are. So we're really
Yes.
having to change the story of who I am.
Right, right. You're trying to change your internal image of yourself, really rewriting, and that can be
Mhm.
through positive affirmations in the morning, journaling, really imagining yourself in whatever your health goal is, but imagine yourself being there now, writing what it's going to feel like, writing what it's going to look like, writing about how are clothes going to feel when I've reached whatever goal this
Mhm.
is. and really start getting your body used to this image of the you that you're working toward.
I love that. And another one of my guests talked about visualization, and she said something similar to you of it's not seeing who I will be, it's putting that in the present tense of this is who I am and seeing myself the way I want to be, but keeping it present. What's the key of keeping it present?
Practice. I think it's just repeatedly telling yourself that spending time with yourself, spending time in quiet, spending time journaling, and really believing that this is the person you're meant to be, this is the person who you are, and just being patient as you rewire that part of your brain.
So you talked a little bit about how in your journey this affected your relationship with your husband. And I'm almost saying we have a relationship with ourselves too, right?
Absolutely.
So can we talk a little bit about just even the relationship with ourself? And because I almost think that that's probably where we have to start, right? Is our relationship with ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And for me, it was starting to realize how my body image was limiting the life that I was leading. So we may see this in often it's women who are reluctant to put on a bathing suit and get in the pool with their kids in the summer, or reluctant to get a bathing suit for the family vacation. Like, what are you holding yourself back on? I mean, in reality, who cares what you look like? There's no one there who is whose opinion matters more than your own. And so it is just giving us grace to be present and not put our lives on hold until we have this body that we think is going to solve all our problems. And again, that is really thinking about what is the life that I want to lead? What kind of experiences and activities do I want in that life? And what can I do with the body I have today to start having those experiences? It doesn't mean that we are gaslighting ourselves into thinking that we have a body that we don't have. It just means that we are accepting where we are on our health journey and with the physical body that we currently have, and then seeing how can we maximize our joy and pleasure in life based on where we are today.
That's so profound of like giving yourself grace and then looking at, no, I don't have the body I want, but I have a body and it can do these things that I want to do right now. And I love how you said, stop waiting to live the life that you want until you have the body that you want. Like those two things don't have to go together. Right? Like
No.
living the life I want and having the body I want. Like I don't have to wait till here to do this.
Right. We're always, and our bodies are always changing. Even when we reach whatever goals we have, we're aging, things just change. And so revisiting that relationship that you have with yourself, letting go of whatever expectations you had as a teenager, and just, this is your life. How do you want to live it? I think is very helpful. And it's helpful for me to think back to when you're little and maybe you had a grandparent or someone who was older than your parents that really showed you love. And when you think about that person in your life, you're not thinking about their physical form. You're thinking about like their energy and how they made you feel and really the words they said to you. And that's who we want to be, right? We want to be that kind of person to the people most important to us in our lives. And your physical body isn't a part of that equation. So it's just remembering your self-worth is not defined by what your body looks like, which is not easy sometimes for some of us to get to, but that's what we're working toward, is just remembering that.
Yeah. And you're right. Like those people, like we don't remember what they looked like. You don't remember what they looked like, the bathing suit. We remember how they made us feel, the time they spent with us. I love how you said your self-worth is not defined by what your body looks like.
Yeah, that's been a difficult one for me because that was a message I received so much growing up. And so it's a process of realizing that the people who gave you that message, if they were someone close to your family, they meant it as a way of protecting you. Um, and so it's giving grace to the message, to the messenger,
Mm.
while also breaking apart and saying that that's just not true. I am so much more than what I look like, and that's how I want to raise my children, or what's how I want my friends to perceive themselves. And so that is our goal: is to work toward, like, who are we as people? What is our message to the world? Our physical appearance is, as I've heard said, the least interesting thing about a person.
True, true. And you mentioned children and the message we want to give to our children. I think there's a generation of women, um, many of us as adults who have children, especially daughters, that are saying, I don't want to pass on this message to my daughter. I want to heal myself and my body image so that my daughter doesn't worry about it. My daughter doesn't think about it. She's healthy, she's strong, she's doing things she loves, and body image isn't an issue. How do we take that step of, all right, I've healed, maybe I'm healing
Yeah.
myself in this, and finding joy in my life and living my life and appreciating my body for what it is right now. How do I help the girl? I don't have daughters, I have nieces, I have friends
Mhm.
children. How do I help those girls not struggle like we did?
Yes, and there are several things that we can do, and one starts by being nice to ourselves, right? What do we say when we look in the mirror and our kids are around? What do we say when we are getting ready to go to put on a bathing suit?
Mhm.
Um, what do we do at dinner time? Are we skipping meals because we were like, I overindulged at lunch, so I'm not going to eat dinner? That is a message we are sending. So, are we modeling good behavior? Are we being kind to ourselves? I think is a great place to start.
Mhm.
Other things that we can do is really, when their kids are little, praise just the amazing things that our bodies can do, how we can jump and run, and really celebrate all of the movement that our bodies do.
Mhm.
Um, if you are physically active, you're sharing maybe at dinner time, like, oh, I had a great workout today. This is what I did, and this is how I felt. And those type of conversations really form a foundation of life based on movement. And then we're going to assume too that when you feed your family and when you have family meals, that you are talking about the importance of vegetables and a varied diet, and the foundation of why we eat the way that we do.
Mhm. I love that. That's so important because so many of us have struggled with body image. I have struggled with body image. I'm a tall woman. I'm 6 feet tall. So being tall just kind of automatically made me larger. That I had petite friends, like all my friends, so that's a struggle when you compare and you're like, but I always wear a larger size, like, all of these things. My mom was so good about, like, cut the tag out. Like, nobody needs to know what size you wear. Like, she's like,
Absolutely.
does not matter, and kind of that, like, that's the least important thing about you. Nobody cares, So I think it's so important to help this next generation of girls, like you said, focus on, like, the things that you can do and how strong your body is and how fast and all of those things. Like you said, fueling your body. Like, how do these foods make you feel? So I know I have struggled so much, and that's been a big part of my health journey, is my own image of myself. Of And also for me, I don't know if you've found this, having to actually listen to people who speak truthfully to me about myself and
Hmm.
believe them when they say those things about me, because they see me objectively. I
Yes.
see my flaws. And
Yes.
so I've had to not discount what they say about me. Have you experienced that as well?
Absolutely. Being able to receive a compliment is very difficult for a lot of women. And so, yes, I know what you're talking about. And that's something I've also been trying to be very conscious about with my children, is to really go that layer deeper with a compliment and really highlight what they do well. And they're going to roll their eyes and not believe you, but just you keep saying that to your children, to your friends, and to your partners. I think that's a great way to build intimacy with your partners, is to go that layer deeper and say, not just, thanks for cleaning up the kitchen last night, but when I walked into the kitchen this morning and I saw it clean, I felt very loved and taken care of. Thank you for recognizing that I was at my limit last night. And I just really appreciate that effort. So it's kind of calling out who they are instead of what they did, and just going that level deeper with a compliment, and really showing the people who are most important to us that you see them and that you love them for who they are and not just what they do.
Can you give us a couple more examples of that? 'Cause that seems so concrete and makes sense to me, of like that, more than just thank you for cleaning. Thank you
Mhm.
for seeing me and my need and fulfilling that need. I appreciate how you gave in that and the time that you took. Where else can we apply it? What are some other examples of
Well, we'll go to kids again, and I've got two high school seniors who are writing college essays,
that? Mm,
and the first round was all about was them just wanting to reiterate all the things that are already on their resume, right? Their GPA and how many hard classes they took, and so it's an invitation for them to say, we need this essay to show who you are. Here are the things that I see about you. I see that you are a leader. I see that you're great at negotiating with your friends when they're having a dispute. I see that you stand up for what you see is right, and that when you see someone being picked on, you're willing to step in and redirect and help someone. So it's really starting to recognize some of these traits in our children, and then voicing them and showing them that you're seeing them. When it comes to an adult and a partner. And one example that I recently shared was that, for years when my husband would give me a card, it was always say something like, thanks for being the engine that keeps this family going. And you think, okay, like, I know this was came from a really deep place of love. And also, I feel like I just got a job review for an entry level position and I could be replaced by literally anyone off the street. Like, do you really see me at all? And when we were having a conversation recently, he told me what initially attracted him to me, and it was something inside me and something that wasn't about my physical appearance. And it really, like, for the first time, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm not replaceable. Like, I am important for who I am, not just what I do in this family. So that is what we're really trying to spend some time and think about for your friends, for yourself, for your coworkers, for your children. Like, what is it that makes them irreplaceable in your life? And find a way to work that into conversation with them.
I love that. What makes them irreplaceable in your life? That really does get down to the core. That gets deep. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think I need to do that for some people, to think through like what makes these people irreplaceable in my life? Like why are they so important to me? Because it's you're right. It's easy to just give a thanks for keeping the family going. Thanks for filling my
Yes.
gas tank. Um,
Yes.
the,
Yes.
the
Which is, yes, all wonderful things. And also go that next step and say, when you filled my gas tank, it was like, oh, he's taking care of me, or, something, whatever it is that it makes you feel. We're not a great society often with identifying and expressing emotion. And so spending some time and really thinking about how we feel and how others make us feel, and then relaying that information to them, um, goes a long way.
Hmm. So you being an intimacy expert, and I think we've really covered up some of this, but I kind of want to delve into this piece. Intimacy goes beyond just sex, right? Like that's just one component. Like we've been hitting on a lot outside of that.
Absolutely. I think often when people are saying, "Oh, I want more sex, I want more sex," actually, what they're craving is intimacy and connection.
Mm,
You can have sex without intimacy,
mm,
uh, but I don't think it's very good. And so,
mhm.
really, we are looking for a way to open ourselves up, to be more vulnerable, to have that connection, to know we're being seen by the people we love, and yes, I think you're right that it absolutely goes beyond just physical connection.
So really the work that we can do here in developing kind of an intimacy with ourselves, and loving who we are. And like you said, giving ourselves grace and living the life that we want to live right now, that starts to expand into all of our relationships, allowing us to have more intimacy with everybody in our life, right? Like, is that what you're seeing with your
Absolutely.
clients?
Yes, absolutely. And I think something that we can do is to, because as you said, this really starts with becoming comfortable with who we are. And so you can take 10 minutes, take 2 pages in a journal and just write out a really abbreviated version of your life story from puberty until now, and go through and see like what are the stories we're telling ourselves? How can we be kinder to ourselves? How can we share this parts of our story with our loved ones so that they understand what we're struggling with and what we're trying to rewrite, so that they can help reflect back what they see in us, and start this healing process and help it go a little bit faster. So often we hide what we're ashamed of, and as Brene Brown always says, that shame really thrives in secrecy. And once we put a voice to it, once we start acknowledging, I'm really embarrassed about this part of me, or I don't feel great about this part of me, and we start talking about it and putting it out there, it really lessens the power that it has over us.
Mm, it shines a light.
Hmm.
There's healing when we bring light. Um, I have kind of a science background, and I think of like sunlight is healing and cleansing. It's in
Yes.
the darkness that infection and mold and all of that grows. But when we shine the light, there's healing.
And there's connection, because you're letting someone see a part of you that you've been afraid of. And when you become vulnerable, that invites whoever you're sharing with to also open up a little bit more of themselves and really allow themselves to be seen.
Yeah, and that's really what we want, right? Like we want connection and we want to be seen.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
So I want to challenge our audience, like let's start that ourselves. Like let's be the kind of chain breakers and start bringing things into the light and being vulnerable and encouraging those around us to step into this, to be vulnerable, to share, to connect, because we need community. Like this isn't like you can't have intimacy by yourself, right? Like there needs to be other people.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you can, but yes, having a community really enhances and augments the power, and it really helps you to grow beyond what you see for yourself.
Hmm, that's yeah, I love it. Like it grows it and it multiplies. It's um so important, community. And I understand you have a gift for our audience. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yes, I have a an 8 steps to take that you can take today to start building your body confidence, and so that is a free gift when you sign up for my email list.
Awesome. So we have the link for that in the email that you guys received, and it's in the notes. So I would encourage you to get that and start that process and do those 8 steps. And then I'd like to just end with 3 fun questions. I don't always ask these, but I enjoy asking them when I remember. Um, what are you reading? What are you watching? And what are you listening to?
Oh, so I will say, what am I reading? I just finished On Our Best Behavior by Elise Lunin, and it was fascinating. It's nonfiction. So it's not for everyone, but it was just a really interesting overview of her research in how women have been perceived through history. So that's been good. And then what I'm watching, I am a little bit late to the game, so we're watching Succession, and so that's been that's been fun to catch up on and start to see. And then listening to well, we I am I have a teenager. We've got Taylor Swift on a lot, so she is really my muse these days, and so she's been what I've been listening to.
Nice. Some interesting things. I have not gotten on the Succession train yet. I actually have not even gotten on the Ted Lasso one yet.
Well, Ted Lasso is a little bit nicer characters than what I'm finding in Succession. So it depends what you're in the mood for.
Yeah, it really does depend on what, like a Friday night, what you need to watch is very different from like another night of the week. And
Yes.
it also depends on your week, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, I want to thank you for joining us and sharing with us about kind of the work that you do and the work that we can do to just appreciate our bodies and start healing our relationship with ourselves, and then working on our relationship and intimate relationships with others. So thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I want to thank our audience for joining us. Please check out her free gift, and start that process for yourself and find that confidence. I can tell you, like, having done some of this work myself, the difference is huge. And I can tell you, just specific example, I can think back probably 3 years, a picture a friend posted. I cried when she posted that picture. And there wasn't much I could do. I mean, because I didn't want to tell her I hated how I looked in the picture. And today, Sunday night, a friend of mine posted a picture of us, again, kind of out of my control. And looking at that picture, I was like, I am proud of this girl. I'm proud of who I have become. And I wasn't hiding. So huge difference. And it's just a couple of years of crying and wanting to delete the entire picture, which I'm kind of glad I didn't, because now I can go back to it. Versus today of looking at a picture and being proud of what I've done and the work that I've done and where I am. So makes a big difference. And I'm sure you have kind of a similar story.
Yes. Congratulations. That's fantastic. That's what we all hope to work toward.
Yeah. It's a process. It is
Yes.
a daily process. So I encourage all of you, get her free gift and start this process for yourself, because it's a wonderful, wonderful process to go through, and you can get to a wonderful place. So thank you, Krista, for joining us. Thank you to our audience for watching, and I hope everybody has a fantastic day.
Thank you. Bye.